if you've missed part one of the podcast, Better Approach to Your Health, skip back one here so that you can listen to it there. And really, I suppose this has been something I've been really immersed in for the last few years. And what I wanted to do was share with you guys I suppose, the health hacks, the things that I have learned, the things that I do. As I said, I'm not a nutritionist or a health advisor or anything like that, but there are definitely things that I have learned along the way that have really helped me improve both my physical health, but also my mental health as well. So I would love for you to hear those. So, like as I said, like it's quite a vast arena. So that's why I've broken it up into three different episodes. So, like I said, if you've missed it, click the link in the show notes. You'll be able to hear it there. Hey, welcome to Wow Words of Wisdom. This is the podcast where we talk about all things mindset, all things confidence, and taking action, even when it feels scary. I'm Sharon McCaffrey, and if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. Your mindset shapes everything. The way you think, the way you show up, the way you go after what you really want, and it all starts in your head. So if you've ever felt stuck, doubted yourself, or wondered if you're really capable of more, you're in the right place. Each week, let's break through those mental blocks, shift your perspective, and start making things happen. The next thing then is your cortisol management and oxytocin and just kind of your hormone pyramid. So cortisol is your stress hormone, okay? But cortisol, that's the hormone that wakens you up in the morning. Okay. So I want you to think about, when you waken in the morning, right? So it's cortisol, which is the stress hormone that's wakening you up. All right. And this is what a lot of people do. So they wake up, the first thing they do is they look at their phone. Okay. It's no, in fact, being on your phone can cause stress. All right. And scrolling and all that there. Caffeine also raises your cortisol level. So if you think about it, your cortisol is peaked in the morning in order to make you waken up. And then you add on top of that caffeine, which increases your cortisol more, and your mobile phone, which increases it even more. So now your stress levels are through the roof before your day has even started. So a little tip for you is don't look at your phone, don't have a coffee in the first hour of waking up. Okay, so that your cortisol or your stress levels can kind of balance itself out a bit. So I want you to look at your hormones as if it's like a pyramid. Okay, and at the top of that pyramid, you've got oxytocin. Okay, and then you've got all the others like cortisol, testosterone, progesterone, all of those. All right. If you keep your oxytocin, and I'll tell you now how to do that, if you keep your oxytocin levels in check, then all the other hormones in your body and chemicals is going to fall into place. And for me, that was just a really easy way to remember it rather than going like, oh, but cortisol sits higher than this one and that one sits higher than that one. I just saw oxytocin's at the top. And if I can keep up oxytocin where it's meant to be, then everything else will cascade in line. That's the easiest way to remember. So what is oxytocin? Oxytocin is the love hormone. Okay. It's the antidote to cortisol. How do you get oxytocin? You get it through connection. You'll get it through touch, laughter, hugging with friends, community, being around and people that you love and stuff. Kissing, holding hands. The other really good way that you can get it is from pets. So that's why the way sometimes you'll be in a dentist practice and there'll be like a therapy pet there. Like sometimes they'll have maybe a Labrador or a Retriever or something like that there. And the reason it is so that when people pet an animal, they get oxytocin from them. So it calms them down and makes them feel more relaxed. Have you ever noticed anytime if you hug a dog, or I always calling for anyone that follows me on Instagram or whatever, you'll know that I have a little Shih Tzu Alfie, and I call him my little oxytocin friend because you get oxytocin from a pet. So by hugging them, touching them, you get that, which means then that calming sense, but then it's keeping all your other hormone levels in check. So your cortisol, stress, all that there. So when oxytocin is flowing, your nervous system is feeling safe, and then your body is feeling calm and feeling heat, I suppose. So it's not just about avoiding stress, it's about like, I suppose creating that calmness and that joy and stuff too. The next thing then, I know I talked earlier on about supplements, but I always talk about like taking a really, really good quality probiotic. And I take one with butyrate in it. So you probably haven't heard of butyrate, but I want to talk a little bit more about, gut health. And as I said earlier on, it's kind of like the unsung hero of our well-being. And I used to just think that probiotics were those things you get in like in a tiny yogurt pot. But then I discovered that, probiotics with butyrate were like a complete game changer. So what is butyrate? It's like a short chain fatty acid. It actually helps to, I suppose to want a better word, to like see, but also heal the gut lining. Okay. So I want you to imagine that your gut lining is like a worn out carpet with like holes in it. Okay. And most probiotics, and particularly ones you pick up in supermarket and stuff, are a little bit like an air freshener. They're nice, but they're not actually fixing any issue. But the butyrate is the repair crew. So they're coming in, the actual tools, they're patching up the holes and making sure your gut line is strong enough to protect you from all the rubbish that's coming in from processed food, stress, and toxins. So it doesn't just help with your digestion, it supports your brain health and it reduces inflammation. And I noticed like a real difference in my energy. I also noticed a real difference in my mood and on my skin when I got really, really consistent with it. But I also noted that any bloating that I had like completely was completely gone. And I want you to think of your gut like almost like the foundation of a house. You don't decorate the lounge if the basement is leaking. So you wanna fix the structure first, and that's what this stop and does. But like it's been a total game changer. I do have a discount code for the probiotic that I use, and I will link it in the show. It is expensive, but so guys is being sick. And if we're in poor health, that can be really expensive. But I think if you work it out over what it would cost you per day, it's so worthwhile. The other thing that I swear by are like walks in nature. And sometimes that you may just feel like everything's a bit too much. You're feeling maybe a little bit tight chested or overstimulated, or your brain's like a browser with about 40 different tabs open, that kind of feeling. Well, that's usually when I throw on a coat and I'll go for a walk outside. And great thing about this one is it's free. But I remember reading this little Japanese book once, and it talked about the Japanese call this forest bathing. Okay, and I know that sounds really, really fancy, but there is something about being surrounded by trees and nature and birds and zero Wi-Fi that it kind of recalibrates your entire nervous system. And some of my best business ideas, my mindset breakthroughs and aha moments were like when I've actually been out walking and, not sitting at a desk scrolling through Instagram or motivational quotes. And again, like coming back to like what I was saying about grounding earlier on, being in nature actually grounds you, it reminds you that like life has a rhythm, and then you just start sinking back into it. And then, like I said, you don't need a gym membership to walk. It is like free therapy, it's free inspiration, it's free vitamin D. So nature's basically giving you the full wellness package, and all you actually have to do is show up. So I would try to get out at least 4 or 5 days a week, just out for a walk, weather permitting, out for a walk. When I do it, I would try to avoid bringing my phone or AirPods or anything like that there, because I just want to take in, I suppose, the noise of nature and that calming effect, and opposed to having something plugged into my ears. The next one then is proper salt. And I mean like proper salt, not like the table salt that you buy. And there's a myth that I want to bust. And every time I say this, like people I know like get back to me for every time I say this, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Like, salt isn't the enemy. A lot of people think salt is the enemy. Sugar is actually the enemy. Salt isn't the enemy. The right kind of salt, that is. So you want to get like a good quality Himalayan pink salt for a Celtic sea salt. As said, not table salt, and even when you're checking it, there's a lot of cheap versions of Himalayan pink salt out there now where they've added extra chemicals and stuff like that. So check. I actually get mine from a farm shop. It's proper sea salt and comes like in a little glass tub. It comes from Achill Island, and there's nothing in it, like absolutely nothing in it. But they're packed with essential minerals that your body actually needs. So it comes back to like the electrolytes. Sometimes if I'm feeling dehydrated, I just put like a spoonful of salt just in water and drink it to get my electrolytes. And but you don't want that cheap white table salt. That's like ultra processed. That's not doing you any good at all. And here's something else that is really, really interesting, right? You know, sometimes you get those sugar cravings. A lot of the time your body's screaming for sugar, it's actually screaming for minerals. So here's a little tip for you. If you pop a flake of salt, like proper, that's just like Celtic sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, on your tongue, the sugar craving will go. So I've actually gone like from raising a biscuit into actually sitting there going like, I don't actually need any sugar. So if you're trying to, if you're in a diet or maybe you're on a wellness buzz or maybe you're going on just eating too much sugar, try that. Just a flick, as I said, it has to be proper and proper salt. The next thing then is that I'm very aware of, I suppose, is and something that you should start to become mindful of is like your insulin resistance. Okay. And you know, this is the thing that nobody told me growing up. It's not just what you eat, it's how often. So, you know, I used to be one that like, you know, like I'd snack a lot, I'd snack in front of the TV, you know, little bits here and nibble there and just all in the name of keeping energy up. You know, you should be eating like, you know, little but often and stuff like that. And there's so much confusing information out there. But what I was actually doing was constantly spiking my insulin. And what that was doing then was leaving me like my brain was foggy, I was feeling tired and weirdly like emotional. So insulin resistance is when your body stops responding properly to insulin. That's the hormone that manages your blood sugar. So when this happens, your body then starts to store more fat. So that's where I'm going to leave part 2. There is one more part which is a little bit of a longer one, but if you've missed any of this, so it's over 3 episodes, just click the link in the show notes where you'll be able to listen to it there. And that's my words of wisdom for today's episode of Wow. I hope this gives you something to think about, because remember, your mindset shapes your reality. The way you choose to think today will impact what you create tomorrow. If you love this episode, let me know. Share it, tag me, or send me a message. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Catch you next time.